I have a question for you. When was the last time you went to the theater to watch a movie and why? What did that movie make you feel? How many movies do you watch a week? In recent history, companies like Disney, companies like Netflix have been losing revenue. And this is mainly because a lot of movies suck. Post the pandemic, the numbers are not really good. Movies such as Fast X failed to meet expectations. It was a movie that was expected to breach $1 billion. It didn't. A lot of movies have failed to do as movies used to do based on numbers. And I think this makes us all question why. What's so bad? One of the main things obviously has been when it comes to movies reflect the time of society, and there's no other time that we've lived in that's more divided than the time we live in now. And by divided, I mean in terms of our politics and our social views. We live in a time now where a lot is being pushed, a lot of messages based off of diversity, inclusion, growth, but also a lot of ignorance. So the movies tend to reflect this because a lot of opportunities are being given to people A who either do not deserve those opportunities, or B they keep being given to the same people. The movies keep being written by the same people, they keep being acted by the same people. It's the same story overtold over and over and over and over and over and over again, which is a problem. So what's happened is movies have become more expensive because it's the same people, right? So if a director had $100 million budget in his previous movie, that means to get him again, you have to pay him more. If an actress is coming off of a big movie, you have to pay them more. But whilst the money has gone up, the cost of production has gone up, the stories have become worse. Recently we have the writer's strike, we have the actor's strike, and part of this problem is there isn't money enough there to go around to share. And people are arguing, no, these companies are making a lot of money, we are not making money off of this. But the problem is these companies are not making a lot of money, they are losing money because they're investing in a lot of bad movies. And you might be asking me which ones. You have movies like the new Indiana Jones, the Star Wars. There's a lot of movies that came out that I saw trailers in the past 2-3 years that I didn't even bother watching or going to the cinema for. And I'm a young person, somebody whom these movies are designed for. So today we're going to try and answer the question, why do modern movies suck? I think it comes down to very few things. One is their reflection of the times that we live in. Two, their reflection of the laziness that goes within the movie industry now, the writers. In the previous decade, we saw the rise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but then that also meant the rise of the same thing. Whether you're watching a Marvel movie or a DC movie or whatever, it's the same movie because these movies make billions. But then what happens is there isn't a lot of original storytelling, there isn't a lot of original characters, there isn't a lot of things that we can relate to because people have become woke, which is a big word. But when you think of back in the day when you were reading stories, let's say what would make a story like Romeo and Juliet a great story? It's a story about love. It's a story that connects us. It's a story about connection. It's a story about yearning. It's a story that any kid, any person, when they come on earth, they can relate to and have a certain level of understanding. And then when you look at where we are at in the world of reboots and remakes and reimagining, what's happened is the art of creativity has been thrown out. The art of creating new things. I remember when I was watching Shrek, when you were watching Finding Nemo, when you're watching movies like this, Toy Story, there was an element of, I see the world as these characters. There's a level of we can relate. And then fast forward to that, to where we are now, where you have movies like Transformers coming out, where you're like, okay, man, How much more of this can you exploit, and how much more of this is a true story? Are you allowing directors, storytellers to explore and express themselves and tell different stories without having to meet budget needs? If they spend $100 million, you have to make sure you're creating a movie that satisfies that $100 million and brings it back. Otherwise, they shall be held to pay. So modern movies suck mainly because, one, the studios are run by people, by corporate people who want to make money, but also B, because storytellers have become lazy. It's become about money. The system has become so rigged that it doesn't allow for simple stories, good stories, original stories to be told. They need to have IP. And one of the challenges that we have, when you look at a movie, say, like Snow White. Snow White is a story that we all know, we all love. The same thing with Cleopatra, the same thing with The Little Mermaid. Like, these are stories that have been there for a long time that people enjoy, people talk about, people have grown up with. And you take those things and you're like, oh, let's introduce the way the world is now to those stories and let's reimagine them, which is a problem because a lot of people cannot relate. If you want to create, I feel like, inclusion and all these things, then we need original stories. We need stories that reflect those people, their struggles, and how they overcome. If simply taking and saying, hey, you know what, let's reimagine the 1800s to be, instead of Abraham Lincoln being the first president of America, let's turn him into the first female president of America. Let's reimagine the 1800s. Then it's like, no, why should we do that? Let's imagine now what it will be like to have the first female president of America. Let's write a story of how this happens. That's imagination. We are creating a world that is unknown and we can explore this world. And I think that what we've done and what we've been forced to consume and experience is reimaginations of safe. Like, everything has to be safe. Everything has to be done within safe margins. When they speak of, okay, let's say The Little Mermaid, let's make a black character to promote inclusion. It's good. It's great. But we all know the story of The Little Mermaid and we all know what she looked like within the cartoons. And it's like, and then there's an outcry over that. And that's a valid outcry. It's not just about, let's switch her skin color. It's, okay, if we're going to make Little Mermaid a black girl, then we have to give her the experience of a black person. We have to make the story authentic. When you look at Snow White right now being given to Rachel Zegler, it's perfect. Like, the issue is not about her being brown. The issue is, let's make her authentic to Rachel Zegler. Let's Snow White represent Rachel Zegler. Because the thing is that we cannot do is have these people bring in the cultural backgrounds of white people and just put a black person in front of them, or a Latina person in there. It just feels wrong. It's like the same concept of blackface, whereby you have a white person painted in black and acting black. So essentially, we've removed blackface and replaced it with a black person, which is wrong because it takes away the experiences. I think if you're going to make a fairy tale based off of a black person, then we have to engage and tell a black person's story in our movies, which creates a new challenge in how do you tell the story and how do you make it authentic. What are the themes that you can touch upon, which brings us back to things like love. And these are things that have been taken out of society, or that people are trying to slowly push away. Oh, the girl cannot be saved. The girl cannot want love. She means a lot. She knows a lot. But we are missing the point. The point is, what is the basic human need? The basic human need is connection. The basic human need is love. The basic human need is these things. And we live in a time where we're like, nah, people don't need that. You don't need that. You which is fine. Don't make it about us, because you've made our movies suck and be boring, and something has to be done, and I think the audiences have spoken. Theaters are not getting full. They are losing a lot of money. Cut those budgets, give them to more creatives, allow creativity back into cinema. We have to allow it, and we have to take away the power that these people have. Like, who decides that $300 million is going to be given to one creative?